I really feel that's the only thing I ever was interested in art. When I was going to school, I was on the school paper. I did drawings for other people and traded. They did some of my work, and I'd do their maps. And when I was very small, my mother would draw me little things, and I'd say, that doesn't look like a dog, and I'd redraw it for her. And I just never really wanted to be anything else. I studied with several teachers at the Art Institute in Chicago. The teachers were teachers. They weren't real important artists. You know, no one that I knew of it as, but they were all good. They were very good teachers. Then I had gone to night school in a lot of different places, schools where they had teachers. They had a live model. Mostly I drew from the model. So I went to art school in Mexico City. I went to the Escuela Esmeralda, where Frida Kahlo had studied or been associated with. That was in 1948. Then my mother got cancer, and I had to come back to Florida to live. And I stayed in Florida ever since, except for traveling. Oh, Jose de Kreft I met in Florida. He came down here to teach, and that was the reason that I took up sculpture, because he was such a great teacher. Usually you start in clay, and with him you worked in direct materials. Undoubtedly they made lead pipe in those days, and because I was studying with Jose de Kreft, this looks like a de Kreft kind of sculpture. This when I was an art student. One of the reasons I felt I could never be an individual, because he was too powerful. There was no other way you could really work. I had studied with Ann Norton before Jose arrived. She was a wonderful teacher. That's where I did clay work. I studied with her about a year. Then my real love was painting. I really loved to paint more than sculpture. Actually, there's nothing more you can learn from any teacher once you learn your tools and how to do things. Well, after studying at Norton for quite a while, I met an artist that was in a gallery in Palm Beach. There was only one gallery in Palm Beach, the old Worth Avenue Gallery. And he said that he liked my work so well, he wanted me to go over there and take it with me. So I went, and they took 3 of my paintings, and they sold them right away. I couldn't believe it, and I was absolutely delighted. And they were to people that were actually collectors of paintings. So they invited me to be in the gallery. And I was with them for 8 years. A lot of these different dealers came down to Palm Beach, and they're looking for artists. And Victor Hammer, I met in the gallery, in the Worth Avenue Gallery. He used to come in there with Bemelmans, who was an artist. They came down on Armand Hammer's boat, and the boat docked in Palm Beach. And Victor and his wife liked my paintings. In fact, he bought 2 of my paintings. And I was in his gallery until he died. I was in his gallery about 10 or 12 years. I did flowers mostly, flowers at first, but then I had my first one-man show at the Worth Avenue Galleries, and I had made a trip to Martinique and Guadeloupe. The people, such as Martinique, they still were wearing the bandanas around their heads and things, which now all that is gone. And it was like it had been in a past period, not modern. The houses were very French, and the landscapes were beautiful colors, beautiful trees. That just changed my thoughts on everything. Then all I was looking forward to was going to Paris. It wasn't that I was going to have a show right then, but when they saw my paintings, they said, "You've got to have a one-man show." And that's how I got my first show. And it was very successful. My first trip to Paris was the results of that show from Martinique and Guadeloupe. I had the money to go. I was given the apartment on Rue de Coeur in Paris by my art dealer, right near Notre Dame. Fabulous location. And I could stay there as long as I wanted, which I stayed as long as I could afford to stay. I painted the buildings, I painted the river, I painted the flower market. I did several paintings of the Vert Galant, which is that little island right off of the Pont Neuf Bridge. I painted the Pont Neuf Bridge many times because from my balcony on Rue de Coeur, that's what you saw. You were looking right at the river and the bridge. One of the most important parts of old Paris, Miss Delamere, who gave me the apartment, through her, I met Pavel Chelichev, who was at that time a very famous artist. He's in the Museum of Modern Art. He was a very unique person, very unusual, and although here he was